give your customers what they need in a jiffy, right? I'm sure a platform like what Next Solutions is really putting together is something that should help you to make use of that, be on the top of it. You can use your mobiles, you can use your personal assistants like an iPad or the Galaxy Tabs or whatever that could be, and be able to provide the customer the service that he requires by being right there with the knowledge that you need to have. And knowledge also leads you to provide real good quality service. That's a second piece that one needs to be really worried about in terms of achieving the growth targets that one needs to have. So the quality, knowledge combined with the tools that some of these platforms can provide helps you to give a real quality output to your customers, right? Be it the financial planning tools or so many jargons are there, calculators or ability to maintain the NAVs of the client over a period of time. All of them help you really provide that extra edge to the service that you provide to the client. The quality really becomes much different than what you can do by yourself, because first is whether you will be able to invest and get all the knowledge that is required for you to be able to provide good service to a client. And second, also the time that is required to be able to invest in building the knowledge for yourself. I think this is what should be one of the key goals that you should be able to achieve by using some of these platforms. The third piece is the sheer reach that you can achieve, right? That's going to be very important given the time constraint, the distances that you have to travel. How frequently do you need to meet the client? But if I can meet the client once and then interact with them through the technology, it makes you happier. It saves your time and you are able to do other things during your spare time, or the more customers you can meet. So this is a case where you can actually reach the customer. Like for example, in L&T Finance, which is a fairly large retail-oriented organization with branches in the villages. Right? When I say branches, they are not really the brick and mortar branches. What they do now is that have a PC. If they have a PC and a scanner by their side, they can, if they start at the beginning of the day, by end of the day, they could have perhaps even close the deal with the customer. Right? We process based on images. We have a centralized processing center which approves credit and also authorizes disbursement. With the kind of papers, whatever the documents required, they are scanned and sent back into the central processing center and be able to give a loan to the customer. A farmer can start the day in the morning going to visiting the dealer for a tractor. By end of the day, he can have the tractor on his doorstep. That's how we make a difference to, we can't compete with the banks on pricing, but we do compete on being able to deliver the credit on immediately. So today I have 500 branches, I can say. Even though the brick and mortar branches are only about 90. But effectively we have 500 branches because every village sales officer is enabled with a PC, a data connectivity, and he's able to process the transaction sitting there. So that's what it does to you. So you or your sales assistant can carry a PC and be able to log into this kind of a system and deliver the results to your client. Right? Be it his portfolio, be it what investment that he wants to make and how you want to recommend to him, what is his risk appetite. All of them you can do using the tools that platform provides and be able to deliver it. I think that's an extremely important enabler for you to reach customers and be able to provide the quality service that he wants, and then get the benefit of the revenue that he can provide to you. The third piece that excites me when I talk about technology is the sheer efficiency that it comes to you around, right? Efficiency in terms of operating costs, be that you don't need to visit a customer more frequently, you don't need to maintain multiple files, and your time, the way you save your time, save on your time, and consequently the number of clients that you can attend at in the given time that's available to you, the cost of your operations can go down dramatically, right? And then you don't need to invest in all that is required to be able to deliver results, good results to a customer, because there is going to be a central platform which will make the investment. So you are able to use that, all that is available on the platform either on a variable fee or on a fixed fee, whatever is the kind of agreement that you have, and then you are able to deliver the results to them. What it does is that what you could have invested as 100, you may get it at say 10 or 1, depending on what kind of agreements you have, and you just see the use of capital. You are able to use the capital more efficiently and also use the time plus the cost efficiencies around it and generate revenue for yourself. And I'm sure that all of you agree in these days of lack of exit loads and even the AMC is competing for profits, not for revenue, right? Competing for profits with each other. The kind of challenges that is there in terms of what you get as your share of revenue of the entire value chain. So it becomes extremely efficient. I think the only way to build market and the only way to build value for all of us who are participating in this industry is cost efficiency very clearly, because then you get your value, we get our value, and then in the end of the day, the customer also gets his value. So cost efficiencies are the most important things in building value for the chain. And financial services is, I keep telling my people definitely, that's one of the most commoditized business, though it is very glamorous. It's the most commoditized business on this earth. The only difference that gives you competitive advantage is the cost efficiencies. How quickly can you do is the best efficient. Otherwise, all that you have can be copied by somebody else at all points of time. So efficiencies are one of the most important pieces that you need to deliver. So if you look at, so we talked about quality, we talked about efficiencies, we talked about knowledge. The one piece that is important is the control, right? If one is going to maintain records, right, you can always computerize manual records, right? Instead of keeping it on a register, you can put it on a worksheet, but it's still manual, one doesn't reflect that. But if there is going to be an automatic tracking facility of your revenues, the way, what kind of investment you have generated, consequently the revenues, if somebody can tag it and keep on updating you at all points of time, right, you don't lose revenues, right? Even if the AMC is by mistake oversight eliminates to give you a credit, then you are able to track it and reconcile and get your benefits. So the revenue leakages also come down dramatically. So if you look at there will be 5 key criteria that you end up using in using technology, right? Quality, reach, knowledge, control of your revenues, and efficiency, cost efficiencies. All of this are going to make a big difference to all of you. And individually, it's going to be impossible, or I would say will not be very valuable for each one of you to make the investment by yourself. And that's where these kind of platforms do help. And I am a fan of these platforms for the simple reason that it gives you what I would say that the value by way of providing all those tools that you need to have to be successful in the business, while at the same time you get the power of being together as well, right? That's also equally important. Power of being together is, it can make a difference to you, because we have seen that happening in many other occasions. I'm sure that also makes a difference to you. And from the manufacturer point of view, it becomes efficient to deal with one platform to be able to deliver the results to the respective members of the platforms. So I would say that these are the 4. At the same time, technology is something which you should choose, right? I was just talking to my IT expert. He was saying that if you invest because someone else has got it in technology, it's not going to be valuable to you. So you choose the technology by selecting as to what will make a difference to you, and then do that. And frequently, either we overinvest or we underinvest, right? But aggregated platform like the one that we are all members of definitely makes a difference to you, because there is someone who goes through it very meticulously before he selects the technology, and technology that will be useful to all of you, right? That's the way I look at technology as well. And so it's like if we want to use only for voice, then there's no point in buying an iPhone or a BlackBerry, right? Unless, because BlackBerries cost you minimum 25,000, 30,000. iPhone is more expensive given that it is dollar related. So it doesn't deliver the returns to you the way it should, right? So I see that you need to be also cautious about what technology you want to invest in. Even when you want to connect right? Do you want to use an iPad, or would you be happy with a netbook? You can always decide, right? That's a way one would like to travel through that. But we have seen several organizations at the larger level which have made a difference to themselves by technology. One of the best things that impressed me was when I went to US and wanted to buy I bought an Apple iPhone, or I think I bought a MacBook for somebody. There was one person who spent a lot of time explaining to me about how useful it is, what it can do. But the moment I decided, right, from the billing to delivery to giving me the receipt, right, was a flat 5 minutes. Everything got done in one handheld he had, including the credit card swiping, the signing for it. And by the time I exited the store, the receipt has been sent to my email ID, right? That's a level of efficiency that one can achieve, right? It really impressed me. Now, so the amount of time that you invest in selling is perhaps the best investment you can make. And if you're going to invest in consummating rather fulfilling the transaction, and that if you go and buy a local shop, it takes you about 45 minutes to exit after you've made a choice, right? Standing in the queue to pay the bill, to then the guy packing, and then collecting it, and then one gets frustrated. But the ease with which this was delivered to me was something outstanding. So you can see that Apple investing in that part of the piece of activity which makes a difference to them, that getting the customer, right? And thereafter it should be completely automated, and then don't waste time in spending time. Because the stocking point was at a different level. Doesn't matter. The item selected, paid for, from the stocking point somebody brings it and then gives it to me on the floor. Such a happy situation, right? I don't need to see anything else. Similarly, even in India, if you look at an ICICI, right? I would say that perhaps being a user of multiple technology platforms, from a pure client servicing perspective, on the net-based service, it's one of the best, right? You can do almost everything. And what it has done to them is also important, right? The number of clients who visit the branch has come down dramatically. But more importantly, it made a difference to them on the CASA. I do believe they were struggling at about 12-13% CASA deposit at a point of time. Today they claim about 24-25%, right? The only reason that they've been able to achieve it is because they enabled their bank website for transaction enabling. With the result, more and more clients kept their balances in the bank account. So whether you want to invest, or whether you want to buy, or you want to pay bills, they were one of the first ones to provide all these services, right? With the result that you find today, the CASA deposits have gone up. So what made it? It made a huge difference to them on the cost of money for them, right? And similarly, if you look at even the first one to do the net broking was 5paise.com, right? All of us know about it, right? Why were they able to do it? Because the rest of servicing cost of the client came down dramatically because you are able to interact through the net, right? There's no phones, no sending contract notes. It changes the way that you do business very clearly. So everybody, large or small, everybody makes a difference through the net technology, using the technology to deliver services, to make sure that revenues are accrued, and make sure that your service quality is improved substantially. So it applies to all of us, and I am sure that the way, how do you reach there? Whether you do it by yourself or use other service providers is what you need to really see. And it's important, you cannot run away from it in this days of cost-cutting competition, right, very clearly. And everybody is competing, as I said, everybody is competing for, I think market share is slowly disappearing from most of the mind of the competitors sitting in. Most of us are fighting for quality customers and also profits. Right? That's the way the change is happening, and I'm sure that all of you will also be competing for that. And how to reach there is the technology. That's what we have to use. That's briefly what I wanted to tell you. Don't want to bore you too much. Not that I know too much, right? But definitely this is what my experience has been, so I thought I'll share that with you. If you have any questions that you want to ask me, which is very limited, I'm sure, do feel free to ask. If I can contribute.
Why did L&T get into financial services? It's a huge engineering giant. Is it that the infrastructure is not being developed as we are seeing right now? Or is it out of frustration into the engineering, or is it opportunities into financial services? Because this field is totally unrelated to L&T.
All right.
So what was the scene, the strategy behind getting into financial services in a big way?
This question is slightly out of syllabus, but I will still respond to that because many people have asked us this question. Okay. Let's say that L&T did not start this business over 5 years. The L&T started this business in 1994. That's when L&T Finance was established. So it's not a young business in that context, right? And since 1994, L&T has grown at least about 3 to 4 times in size, if my memory is right. So it's not because opportunities were less in any other activity. And in fact, since 1994, at least since 2000 onwards, I've been dealing with L&T on the investor relations side. I know that we were struggling at about 3,500 crores of market cap, right? There was a point of time when it was 1,35,000 crores, right? So it's really grown. I don't think financial services had contributed to that kind of a growth in their market cap, so it has had its opportunity. But I think the piece that we considered was that, okay, we have always looked at what is the market? Why are we there? And the business has been always a question, definitely. So we did look at the financial services business in the context of, is there an opportunity there for us to be present? When you look at the international markets or the most developed markets, the share of financial services in GDP is close to around 25%. Of course, the contribution comes from loans, other financial services, insurance, mutual fund, investment banking, broking, whatever you want to call it. There has been a whole host of services. So clearly that we saw that as a large opportunity, whereas in India, the size, the share of financial services to the GDP when we decided to really make it big was around 7%, right? So as India matures and grows, that's our hope. I hope today is not what happens today is not the permanent situation for all of us. I'm sure that India will get back to growth mode soon. So as India grows to become one of the developed countries, so you can imagine at 7% the deposits or the financial assets in the assets of the banking system was about 30-35 lakhs crores. So if this 7% is going to become 25 in a growing economy, you can imagine the size of that business that it can be. Right? So we believe that it is going to be a large business. The second is that for you to be creating value in this business, you need to be able to raise capital in a competitive way, be it debt or equity, whatever it may be. I think with L&T's brand trust, the image that it is, definitely we were able to, we believe that we can raise capital at a very competitive price. And capital is going to be one of the key resources for growing this business. And if you recollect, we have done about roughly 6 bond issuances, 4 of tax savings bonds and 2 typical bond issuances. And in each of these cases, the price at which we were able to raise successfully money was at least a percentage point better than my competition at the same time which issued, right? When I say competition, it's other than BFC. So the ability to do successful capital raising at this kind of pricing is an important criteria for us. The third piece is that for you to be successful in the business is the ability to attract talent. Right? When L&T stands up and says, this is my vision for financial services, and come and join us to build your own career and value for everybody. Right? I think we were able to successfully recruit talent. And I can only say that out of close to around 4,000 employees in this business, the number of employees who have migrated from L&T are only 5. Mr. Devasili as chairman, and me as the person responsible for the business. There is one compliance guy, there is one legal guy. These are the 4 who have got transferred from L&T. All others have been recruited from the industry, and we have built that, we have been able to integrate this talent and work with them quite well, right? And I can say that about 5 years back, we were about 135 employees totally. Today, we are 4,000 plus employees. All of this have been recruited with, from the industry, with industry knowledge and special. That's how we have done. We have been able to integrate and successfully retain them. The last piece is the ability to acquire clients. I think with L&T's brand name, the trust that we will deliver results to them, we will deliver what we promise to them. And even though we end up, say, in situations of conflict frequently, because the parent is also doing similar businesses, right? Be it infrastructure lending, if you take it as an example, right? L&T is a large developer of infrastructure projects in the country, and we are lending to L&T's competitors as well, right? But still we have been able to attract and build book, get clients to believe us and come to us, with a sheer belief that no competitive information will be shared with L&T, right, for their purposes. I think that's how today we are closed around 11,000 crores of book in the last 4 years time frame. And similarly in the L&T Finance, we support L&T Komatsu as a manufacturer. We also support Telcon and Terex and Volkswagen and Caterpillar, all of them. They have no constraint as far as the conflict that potentially one can see. In fact, with many of them, we are one of the preferred financiers. Right? So that's the way we have built the business. Right? That's what helps us. So with all of this, we have to be successful, and finally the proof of the pudding is in success. Over the last 5 years, we have grown close to around 50% CAGR on the loan book, from about 4,000 crores to 25